by these dialogues, intuitions can be developed. Um, is there also any other methods to develop intuition for a person?
We have a lot of narrative approaches
Mm-hmm.
that focus on contents that are very given free for intuitive exchanges. We do dream work in groups. I've written a book on systemic dream work. So somebody tells his dream, and the others observe what reality is coming up within their mind. And certainly most of these resonances they have are intuitive resonances, and they do not understand what the resonances are and on what they are resonating. By sharing resonances without any requirement to be true or to have something real, people learn to be attentive to their own intuitions, whether they are wrong or not wrong.
Mm.
They learn to give words to the intuitions, and they learn to observe the effects on the other person. There is an interaction between these intuitive narratives, which are exchanged in such a study group.
Mm.
And it's interestingly enough, there are sometimes consequences in further intuitive pictures that come up. So the whole culture of being aware of narratives and intuitive parts of narratives is getting better, and still in a controlled way, because it's open. It's open to learn, to see what effects are, and whether an intuition is helpful for the other person does not only have to do with my economy of intuition, but also with the other person's economy of intuition. And there's a question of matching languages and styles of expressing oneself is coming in. And then if you go with guided imageries and with dream work and metaphors, trying to understand more what you said, listen to yourself to understand what you said, because in the language you use, you usually know more that you are aware of. And when you learn to listen to your own language, you understand more about your intuition. And if you learn to listen more to the language and metaphors and narratives that are embedded in the language of others, you develop a much more richer, multicultural language level, and thus a more complex understanding of reality and interacting with each other.
So what I get as a picture is, one is a language and observant of the language, and able to see the other people's narrative and metaphors, the embedded things within that, and giving expressions to that also enhances the intuition of a person.
Yeah.
What I want to expand also is, sometimes I've been thinking about something, and then I go to sleep and I wake up and suddenly I get some idea. Or sometimes I go for a walk and then I get something as a intuitive idea, which I was struggling with.
Yeah.
So sometimes taking this mind off from it and being in another space also brings a flash of idea. What do you call that?
Yeah, there are two questions. One is has to do with motoric and movement and all these things, and the other with changing levels of expression. I relate first to the one thing. In the last decades, more and more, the interaction between motorical phenomena and brain and understanding of reality, and health is coming up to our understanding. So this has roots in researchers, old researchers, where they knew it as well. That thinking and feeling has also to do with moving. For example, if you sit in a depressive way in your group, then you can talk a lot without changing that. So it's better sometimes to invite the client to sit up and sit upright, because within this state, the chance of not being depressive is just higher, and understanding what you are saying in a different way, because you have a different physical attitude to it. But then you need also to teach these people, if they start to feel depressive, also to change their motorical situation in order to trigger these modes of influence. So I think we are developing a more and more and a more modern understanding of interacting between thinking, feeling, and physical conditions. And we use it also in a more sophisticated and better integrated way for treatment. And this was the first part of your question. So walking around with somebody is wonderful, combined with the advice, if they feel stuck at home, they should walk around to activate. Because we talk about the context-bound understanding of reality. So the context creates psychological reality. This is a physical context, and within organizations, it's an organizational context. It's the kind of office you are in, the plans you have in your office, and so on. So it's a new integration of psychological descriptions of reality and real life conditions and physical conditions as well. And the second perspective in your question is, can the change of levels of expression help to bring something into a movement? And certainly it can. What I did not mention when I talked about the narratives method is the theater metaphor. Work a lot with the theater metaphors, and sometimes we also work with theater methods within our groups. Let people play something, or at least let them, as an action of mind, transfer, let's say, a conflict situation in their office into a fairy tale situation.
Okay.
And then understand how would you bring that on the stage as a fairy tale. What happened to you? And if you want, we call, this is from NLP, that's a matching story. The matching story to a conflict or to a problematic reality is similar, but on a different level, on reality within a different story and a different context. And then sometimes it's easier to ask for a leading story. Say, if we would further develop this story on this stage to a good development, how would that look like? And very often we do not even ask the question, and how would this work in your real situations you brought in? Because our brain, our intuition automatically drawing these parallel lines. And Milton Erickson, I studied with, the famous hypnotherapist, he even said it's better not to have the attention on the transfer, because if you do too much on transfer, you limit the creativity of your intuition. Leave it, the way it is, and then over time your intuition makes something of this further developed stories on these other stages. So this is part of the narrative work we do embedded in our consulting or psychotherapy work, and also embedded in our teaching of consultants and psychotherapists.
Thank you, Bernd. This was very enriching experience about intuition, and many things was very insightful for me. Thanks for sharing that.